Are you ready?
Are you ready?
For a podcast hosted by George T.
Who the hell are you?
I am the movie geek.
Who are you?
I am the movie geek.
You are such a geek.
Thank you.
And now, on with the show.
It's time!
It's showtime.
It's showtime.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Movie Geek Podcast. My name is George T. I am your host as always. And yes, it's been a while since I've done a podcast, but a lot of exciting stuff coming up soon. Comic-Con season is coming up. Going to Boston Expo. I will announce some of the people that my son George and I are going to go and see. There's also the Rhode Island Anime Convention that weekend on Father's Day weekend, and we're going to try to go and do both. But I am excited about Boston Comic-Con for a few reasons, and I will explain all that later. Also, I've seen a bunch of movies. I will do reviews on movies next week. We are also switching to YouTube, so for now, we're going to be in your car and your loudspeakers or wherever you get your podcasts, and soon we're going to be on the YouTube. Yes, you're going to get to see my face if you don't know who I am already. So that should be exciting. Also lining up a guest for either June or July, so that should be exciting. I hope you're going to stay tuned for that. You can hit me up on social medias. My Instagram handle is geoted3. If you like the show, comment there. Or I guess now Buzzsprout does fan mail. So if you're a fan of the show, and I hope you are, leave me a comment here or there. Like, subscribe. I don't even know what this is. I know we're 13, 14 shows in. I've got a lot of content coming, but I'm excited about the YouTube thing because I want to parallel that with the paranormal stuff that I've got coming up as well. It's taking me some time with that, but right now, just kind of enjoying things. Speaking of that, there is an update on A Walking Dead, Dead City 2 season. They are filming right down the road from me. I am hoping to maybe get out there and look at some of the filming. It should be exciting, although the golf course is closed off. Maybe there might be a place to camp out and see some of that. Nevertheless, I am a big fan of the show, as you know. I never got to review for you guys Ones Who Lived. Let me do that real quickly. It was a 6-part series. It was relatively quick. It looked kind of, forced a little bit because they were only contracted for 6 episodes. This one was the one where Michonne finally finds Rick. Rick has been gone for the longest time. He has tried to escape a number of times from this military base, every time met with mixed results. Now, the premise is kind of out there a little bit that he's been gone for nearly 8 years, and he's tried to escape 5 or 6 times, but they haven't killed him. They make him a leader. He doesn't want to be a leader. So that aspect of it is a little out there. Jadis is known by another name, and I forget her name, inside the city. She keeps threatening him that if he tries to escape and actually does, she knows the exact place of Alexandria, and she would send the army out there to kill everyone because nobody is supposed to know where this is. Michonne is on the hunt. We see her backstory of how long it took her to get to Rick and finally find him, and merely by accident, really. She was with a group of travelers that helped her get very close to the outer regions of where this army was. They bombed city that she was in with tear gas. She and one other one escaped. They took a year to recover. She finally got the strength to go, and they headed out, and they saw a helicopter. And the helicopter symbolized what Rick took off in the finale of that show, where we never saw him again. They shoot it down. She goes on a killing spree to find out where he could be, and luckily she takes the helmet off of the last guy, and it's Rick. And now she's literally trying to convince him to come back to Judith and RJ, but he is mostly brainwashed. I mean, he has been beaten down. He's been told over and over again he will never see his family. He should just give it up. So he's been brainwashed, and she's trying so hard to get him to go with her, and he just does not want to go. Eventually, she becomes a citizen of this area, and she is told also that she is never going to see anybody outside of this. Well, she's coming up with an idea, while he's coming up with an idea to send her on her way back to Judith and RJ, just to let them, go on their merry way. He could say he killed her. She decides not to go along with the plan, and she figures out, hey, we need to go back together. They go on a mission together, and on the way back, she decides to jump out of the helicopter with him in it. They land in the water. They wind up in a little settlement area where it looked like it was a rundown lab or research center. A lot of doctors in there, as you will see, the dead walking around. But the army finds out that the helicopter has crashed into the building. They go out to rescue, but they also try to take down the building with them in it, not knowing that they're actually in there. But the explosion may have set off a chain of reaction so that whoever was still in there as walkers would wind up out there. So they try to take the building down, not knowing that they are there. They do escape and move on. They find their way to a cabin in the woods. Jadis finds them and for some reason does a little monologue and winds up being overtaken. There are 2 or 3 other people they run into. They all turn. It's, like I said, it's a jumbled mess. But the idea of it was she was not leaving without Rick. And we finally see that toward the end that he's like, you know what, I have to go back to my family. Let's go. However, the ending seems to be anticlimactic because they all revel in the fact that he's back. He is he's the dad again. But season 2 seems to be like he wants to take down the army that he was with for 8 years. So that should be a very interesting season. Hopefully it's going to be more than 6 episodes. Again, it just felt forced. They probably should have maybe made it 8. It might have been more drawn out. Maybe a little bit more writing could have been involved with it. But nevertheless, it was a good, spin-off. We've got Daryl's show coming up in the summer, and obviously Dead City Season 2, when that comes out in 2025. So there's a lot of good stuff, hopefully, with The Walking Dead. So with that being said, like I said, I've seen some movies. I will give one review, and it will be a very quick review later on in the show, so you'll have to stay tuned for what movie I'm reviewing. There are more reviews coming on the next episode, along with trailer reveals. That's why I'm doing the YouTube thing, so that I can incorporate the trailers as a part and do reactions to them. I've seen some really good trailers lately. If you haven't seen them yet, then you will want to see my first endeavor onto the YouTube next week, and then I'll do some more movie reviews. So they will be a little bit longer on YouTube. I will cut out some of it for the actual radio part, obviously, because clearly you cannot see the trailers on the radio. So let us get started with some news. We do have, with being Memorial Day weekend, there are 2 big movies coming out, although maybe not everyone's cup of tea for either one. but the two big ones are Furiosa, the Mad Max prequel to the original Mad Max Fury Road, and another installment of Garfield with the voice acted by Chris Pratt. So, yeah, I don't know how this weekend's going to go, but let's look at the last weekend's box office totals. Number one was If, the Imaginary Friends movie, but Ryan Reynolds stars in it. It made $33.7 million. It knocked off the previously number one movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was 2 weeks in a row. This one made 25.4. Strangers Chapter 1 opened in third place, a good strong showing there, 11.8. This is a prequel to the original Strangers movie back, I forget, I think it was 2018, I think. I'm not sure, I should have done some research on that. Fall Guy was number 4, which was number 2 the weekend before. It made 8.3. I do have a review of Fall Guy on next week's show. It is a really good movie. I will give you the entire review then. Challengers was number 5. That was number 3 the weekend before. Rounding out the top 10, Civil War was down to number 10. It was 7th previously. It is out on video on demand right now. Rent or buy. I say buy it on DVD. When it comes out on DVD, I would definitely buy it. It is definitely worth movie of the year. So far, I don't see anything that could possibly, on the horizon anyway, past it for movie of the year. But again, things will come through and who knows, we'll see. Let us get to some of the news. There is a new deal with Sony and TriStar. They are going to reboot the 1985 Clue movie into a movie and TV show. I am very excited about this because I loved the original movie. It had an all-star cast: Tim Curry, Leslie Ann Warren, Madeline Kahn, Colleen Camp, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, Ellen Brennan, Martin Mull. It's just an incredible cast. And it was a very good movie. It was funny for the audience that is listening who have seen it or haven't seen it yet. I would love to have you watch it and tell me which one of the endings you think is the correct ending. I have my thoughts, and I can guarantee I think it's going to be maybe the same as what you guys think. So, I don't know. But like I said, fan mail is the way to go, I guess, now. Although, just like that, I've got some sad news about Kraven the Hunter. That movie has been pushed to 2025, sadly enough, because that was one of the ones I was kind of interested in. So was my son George. And, it is what it is, I guess. Sony just continues to muck up things, and I'm going to review its latest one, Madem Web. Remember we said Madem Web going to be number 1 on my list of razzies for next year, and I will explain after I get through the news and tell you about the Comic-Con coming up. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. There's one for my son to be happy about. That is set for December 20th of 2025. So right before Christmas. I mean, it's great. I mean, animatronics killing people. Hey, you know what? What says Christmas like animatronics killing people? Although, sad news for Blumhouse. I don't know who's clamoring for a Megan 2.0. Didn't we mention this as somebody was doing a movie that was kind of along that line, and I called it Megan 2.0? Well, there's actually a Megan 2.0 coming out by Blumhouse. It is June 27th of 2025, so circle your calendars for another Megan movie. Look, the original one was okay. It kind of got silly toward the end, But again, I don't know why people would be clamoring for another one, because I certainly am not. But Black Phone 2 is on the horizon. My son loved this movie. He saw it like 3 times the opening weekend on Peacock. He watched it with us, he watched it with his mom, and he watched it with my brother's now wife. Again, he was really excited about this movie, so they are having a sequel to it, and I am very curious as to how they're going to pull this one off. It is October 17, 2025, so right before Halloween next year. So very interesting. There's also 2 other movies that they list on this one. The Woman in the Yard, March 28th of next year, and Drop, April 11th of next year. So those 2 movies I don't know much about yet. There has not been a lot of plot points, but I would assume they have horror written in them if Blumhouse is announcing these titles. Also, Disney has another Star Wars show coming out called The Acolyte, June 4th. I had mentioned this on a previous podcast. The newest trailer looks amazing, although I am curious to find out about lightsabers that whip. So we shall see about that show coming up. But there's a lot of good shows coming out, limited releases on Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, and all that. So I want to try to run down as many of these as I can while I am on leave from work, and I will get your reviews on these things as soon as I can. Speaking of a review that I can do now is Disney Plus's X-Men 97, which was a really good show. If you are a fan of the original comic, it is definitely one that you will want to take a look at. The cartoons were something that I grew up with watching and seeing, and then watched Sony kind of destroy everything. And I will get into Sony screwing up Marvel movies all day long when I do my Marvel podcast. That will be something that I've been working on, but now with the YouTube side of it, I can actually do a little bit more with, and so on. But Sony really needs to kind of stop with their Marvel interpretations because, again, I will get to my review of Madem Web, which was an absolute utter disaster. But X-Men 97 was amazing. The ending, if you have not seen the show yet, does bring into account an early apocalypse and some futuristic stuff. So this looks like it could, and I know that Feige has said that this is completely not in the MCU, but could you be planting seeds of the MCU with your Marvel reboot? Because Deadpool and Wolverine, which there is a new trailer which we will show next week on the YouTube side, and I will do my review of that next week. But Deadpool and Wolverine has been slated as the reset of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And again, I'll get into why I think this is going to be a really good idea for Marvel to do quality over quantity, and them shifting some movies around and so on, and then kind of resetting things as they go, because there's been a lot of rumors and speculation as to what they are planning to do with the rest of Phase 5 and 6. So with that being said, X-Men 97, really good cartoon series. It is 10 episodes. I definitely think if you are a fan of Marvel, or X-Men for that matter, it is definitely a watch. You can even go back and, revisit all of the seasons on Disney Plus and kind of familiarize yourself with the X-Men, because I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of them into the future. Look, I'm not a big fan of Fantastic Four, but I was a fan of the X-Men and what transpired with the timeline shifts from Sony Pictures and just some horrible, X-Men movies along the line. I think getting into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe Marvel actually taking the time to give it more effort than Sony does, I think that will go a long way with helping Marvel out, because X-Men has been so much of a staple of the Marvel comics. So that will be very interesting to see once we get into Deadpool, see where they go from there. And so we will go now to our review of Madem Web, Sony's latest trash. Yeah, I want to say it's just trash. And again, I'm a Marvel fan, but I cannot get behind some of these Sony movies that they make. It is appalling at times to see what they've done. Like, again, they did Venom and the Venom 2 movie. They are doing Venom 3. God, I hope they don't kill this one off as well. I mean, I would love Sony to just give up the rights to Marvel movies altogether. Just give it back to Marvel. Let them do it. Let them put it on Disney Plus or whatever they want to do with it. I think the quality of Sony movies has just been absolutely horrendous. I don't know who's taking these interpretations of Marvel characters. Look, Venom was a fun movie. The second one had so much potential with Carnage that you made it trash. Like, it was okay to watch, but it was trash because Carnage needed more of an R rating than a PG-13 rating, and I don't know why you would think that Carnage, of all people, if you are a Marvel fan of the comics or cartoons for that matter, Carnage is a lot more than a PG-13 type thing. So now you've got the Sony trying to do their multiverse, Marvel is doing their multiverse. It's just getting confusing for fans, and you're turning your audiences off. Can you just stop making movies, Sony, that have Marvel characters in it? Without further ado, let's go over Madem Web, which seriously to me, and I think I've said this over and over and over again, should be right up there for the razzies. Dakota Johnson is a good actress when she's not in trashy movies like 50 Shades of Grey. Look, for all you women out there who liked those movies because of the book, the movies were just dumb, and she really just didn't fit the ideal role for that. I mean, she's done some other stuff that has been good, but now you put her as Madem Web, she just seemed very out of place. I've said this about some other actresses in other roles in the past, but Dakota Johnson just seemed like she was in the wrong movie, and Sony just was like, yeah, she's a good actress, she should bring eyes to our trashy movie. And yeah, I'm just trashing this movie. I'm sorry, people. So I'm just letting you know right now, just don't even bother. This is a definite 2 thumbs down for me. This is the first one I've had in the ranking system, which would be a 1 star or 0 stars if you were doing star systems or whatever, or 0 through 5, whatever your ideal is. This is a 2 thumbs down for me. The premise of the movie, look, I am not as familiar with Madem Web as obviously other Marvel characters, but you're asking the audience to believe that spider people were trying to help this lady who was looking for these spiders with healing powers, and the guy she was with was looking for it for selfish reasons, winds up shooting her over her finding one of these so-called spiders. Spider people were the ones that grew these spiders with the healing power. They came, calling to her rescue. She saves her baby, which winds up being Dakota Johnson. 30 years later, we go into the future. She's a paramedic who has an accident where she died for 3 minutes, but all of a sudden develops her powers as an all-seeing being. And she can only see in snippets. So she does not understand her powers. She also sees in deja vu as well. So she has these flashes. She doesn't know what they are. She just feels like deja vu. And then she realizes that she could actually save people by doing this, because she is on a rescue mission, trying to help. There was a fire down at a dock near a fireworks place, and she's there as a paramedic. She sees a future where her one of her best friends, who is the chief of the fire department, is killed in this one scene, and she doesn't understand all of it until everything kind of unfolds in front of her. And so she's like, oh my god, what, why do I have these powers? So she has to start understanding that. Meanwhile, the man from the jungles who stole the spider has these amazing abilities now, where he becomes an evil spider person when he is confronted by his own future, where he sees 3 spider women in different spider suits. And his grand idea is that he doesn't know when this future is, but he's going to go and track these girls down. Well, they happen to be teenagers, and his premonition is about 10 years into the future, but he does not know that. So his mission now is to take out the 3 teenagers. But randomly, all on this one day, Dakota Johnson's character, Madem Web, decides to go on a train. Well, the 3 teenagers wind up on the subway train all on the same day, just by coincidence. They're not even friends. They're not even, I don't even think, in the same neighborhoods. And she starts to see a vision of a man killing all 3 of them, which she decides, well, once she sees the man, to get the girls off the subway, and now is their protector. And she doesn't know how to really protect them, so now she has to do some research on what her mother was doing. She doesn't know who the man is, and she winds up finding an old photo of her mother with the man. So she kind of has now an idea of, oh my god, this guy, is real. I may know who this is by my mom's notes. We've come to find out that the girls are all basically orphans as well, so there's kind of that connection. But we really don't know why these girls have powers, or when do they become powerful. That wasn't really clear. And then the best part of this movie is the Madem Web, she decides to go to Peru and leave the girls alone with her best friend, Ben Parker. My god, I mean, what an amazing coincidence. Ben Parker, her friend, is a character we're gonna find out in the future is Spider-Man's uncle. Like, wow, what a coincidence. Anyway, she winds up going to Peru. She meets one of these spider people who told her mother while she was dying that she would one day, her daughter would come and try to find answers. So now we flash forward. She's now, seeing what happened to her mother and seeing that she has these powers. She doesn't know how to, formulate them well, but she can use them for, the time being and help these 3 young girls survive this evil man. So this guy is relentless, but he is very, very dumb. Let's just put it that way. The character had so much potential, but it just felt like they could have done a little bit more backstory-ish with the girls than just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm an orphan, this happened, blah blah blah. Or his story, why or what happened to him when he left Peru with the spider. Again, we're just throwing stuff against the tide here. So eventually Madem Web has an accident as well after killing the man who is the spider person, and now she becomes an all-seeing being. And the movie ends with her adopting the 3 children. Well, they're not really children, they're teenagers, as she sees a future with them as the ultimate spider women. I don't know. This movie was just a god-awful mess. Not like many of the other Sony Marvel movies haven't been a mess. Again, I will I'll go detailing most of that in my Marvel podcast, so definitely take a look at that when it comes out. But this movie is definitely 2 thumbs down. Don't even bother. Just pass right by it. Just pass right by it. You know what? If you want a true Madem Web experience, read the comic book. Read the comic book. It's so much easier to do. So next week we will do some movie reviews. There's a lot of good movies that I've seen. Unfrosted is one. Fall Guy was another. Miller's Girl. I want to talk about that one first, probably next week, about the controversy around this movie. I didn't see the immediate need for controversy on this film, but Netflix did a really good job with this film, and I will review it next week. I did want to mention full circle to the Comic-Con that is coming up in June, with Boston hosting this year earlier than normal. Normally they are in August, and for the reasons of them fixing up the convention center during the month of July and August, they moved it up to June, which has made it apparent that they are getting more guests this year. I have been to the Boston Comic-Con in the past and have seen a lot of great actors and actresses, and they had the ability for us to write in as to who I'd want to see, or the fans want to see. Obviously, my number one would have been Jessica Chastain. She's not on the list. However, there is a few people that are on this list that I do want to see. I have also wrote into the Boston Comic Con to see if I would be able to get in and maybe interview a star or two. I have not heard back yet. I am probably guessing I'm not going to, because this is a relatively new podcast and it needs more traction. So if you're listening out there and you know that this is something that you have enjoyed, tell your friends, tell your family to download, subscribe, whatever it is that they do. They don't even have to listen to it. They can just download it and erase it for all I care if they are not interested. But just get the word out. Also on my socials, with the YouTube channel coming out very soon, updating. There's also the paranormal side, so if you are a movie lover and a paranormal lover, you're going to love my updated YouTube channel. I will give you all that details. So my Instagram handle is the only social media I have besides the YouTube channel. That is geoted3, so you can DM me there. Or, like I said, you can fan mail me here on, I guess, Spotify or whatever. I'm not sure. I know Buzzsprout, the creation area where I use for the podcast, has this fan mail update. There's also some other updates that they're doing, so I can, interact with you guys if so be. But going over the guest list of the Fan Expo, as they're calling it now, instead of the Boston Comic-Con. Rosario Dawson will be there from Ahsoka and other movies. She was scheduled to be there last year. She did not wind up making it. Sam Raimi, my son George, is extremely excited to go and see him. He was supposed to be in Rhode Island last year, but he had to cancel doing a movie as well. Cameron Mahoney from Gotham. Also, he plays Cal in the video game that my son is playing now, Jedi Survivor. Also will be there. Another person that I am actually interested in, Mads McCallins. I don't know, I screwed up his name, but he's from Hannibal, Fantastic Beast. He was also in Rogue One. He was the guy who engineered the Death Star and hid the plans that ultimately destroyed the Death Star as well. So he's going to be there. Man, I wish I could pronounce his name, but I am just terrible with last names or names in general. I butcher the English language. You should ask my girlfriend, Ashley. I do it all the time. Marissa Tomei is going to be there. I met her in Rhode Island. She's a really nice lady. There's some other ones on here, but one that popped up for me, and I was so excited when this person's name dropped. I would love to sit down and talk to her, but I know that's probably never going to happen. Maybe. I don't know. But Bryce Dallas Howard. Yes, Bryce Dallas Howard. Ron Howard's daughter. She has been in so many films, and she has been part of the Mandalorian series with Jon Favreau and David Filoni. I think that I also mentioned that she is like top 5 actresses going right now that I would pay money to go see. So I'm going to be very interested to see her when we get to Boston. That is going to be my highlight for me. There's other actors and actresses like Chevy Chase is going to be there. The original Vacation family will be there. Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, the original daughter, Dana Barrows. Although Anthony Michael Hall will not be there, but I met him in Rhode Island last year. He was a really cool guy. So there's a lot in there. I'm just hoping that maybe, just maybe, crossing fingers, that I will be able to interview one or several of these people. But again, this is a new podcast, so we are going to only cross our fingers on this one. However, like I said, I do have a guest that I am working on getting, and I will reveal that eventually as we turn over to the YouTube side of it. And I think this person is very creative, and she has won so many awards and stuff. I know she's not a mainstream actress, but you gotta show love for the independent filmmakers, actors and actresses, and she is definitely a superb actor, director. She does it all, and I am looking forward to having her on my podcast. She and I have corresponded on many occasions. She is a local to Massachusetts, and I will give you her name and when she'll be on, and I will link that with my YouTube channel, and here you can write it all down when that comes available. So again, my socials, GeoTed3, and my paranormal stuff or my YouTube channel is GT3_para_nerdy_dad. Yes, I am a dad. I am nerdy, and I love the paranormal as well. So I love movies and paranormal stuff. That is where you're going to see me on our first endeavor onto YouTube. I'm a little nervous about it, but I think it's going to be great for the reach of the show. So you'll be able to listen in your car or when you're at home, and eventually if you want to see my mug on its TV, or even if you love movies and paranormal, you get to see a lot of that crossover. There's where you're going to need to go. So until then, I've got a lot of stuff brewing for next week's show. I am super excited about next week's show because it will be the first endeavor onto the YouTube side, and I will have so many reviews of movies. I've got a lot of movies to review. I've got a lot of trailers to review, so it's going to be a very long one. So if you're in your car or wherever you're listening to this now, next week's show is going to be a whole lot in there. So you're probably going to need to get stuck in traffic somewhere or whatever, or put it on the background and do yard work or something. Put it on some loudspeakers. I know I'm just talking like crazy, but I am super excited, and I hope that you continue to listen to this and you continue to follow me. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone who is a movie fan, or just in general, if you are a friend of mine or you're, somebody that would be interested in this and you are listening to this, please continue to. I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I will continue to bring you some great stuff. So with that being said, I will see you at the movies.
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.